All right, hello, we're back. Chaos Child. Just as a heads up, there is a hurricane literally right outside right now. I am safe, all nice, tucked up away, little blanket, my emotional support plushie, all of that. But if the stream does drop suddenly, it's likely because I've lost power. Do not worry, it's just something that will likely happen. Actually, I don't know about how likely it is. Something that may happen. Let's not curse ourselves. All right, so we're on Kazuki's route, and let's do ourselves a nice little recap. So, for Kazuki's route, we hallucinated her having Yuri skinship with Nono, reliving Star Wars with her, having a body swap, and a Yuri tickle fight with Steadika at night that escalated into a three-way with us. Yeah, the delusion and a delusion was a little weird. But we fled Senni's attack and took shelter with Kazuki at the school. Senni hurled flaming cars at the school and chased us down, but Kazuki spoke and pulled her D-sword. She took us to the roof garden and spoke commands into reality for lots of firepower. We tried to ditch Kazuki, but Senni blew up the door. Kazuki summoned a portal device from SO2 that was immune to Senni's fire and dissolved her. She took us to her dorm where we stayed from school for days eating squid and lollipops. I can only imagine just like how much like shit we felt like that after eating just that for like 3 days. Like, don't get me wrong, I love dried squid, but that stuff is so salty. It's so tasty, though. She explained her power to make her words reality, which is why she stays silent, and she showed us her game that we need to get good at. Nono found us and grilled us about our relationship. While Kazuki showered, Nono reminisced on how she brought Kazuki to the newspaper club before making her a meal. Kakeru suspects she's fallen for Nono because he's apparently decided that if Hinaya is the Aoi route, then Kazuki is the Yuri route. Yeah, we went very hard into that. We think that Kazuki is apparently just interested in all of the female members. Which, like, look, I will support that. I'd be okay with that. I don't think it's where it's going, but... Okay. The disaster struck Shibuya 2 days after that. The two of us were watching the afternoon news when I suddenly switched to a live broadcast near Shibuya Station. A young female reporter was leading a cameraman up the twisty, thin street that ran from the station to Dogenzaka. The text on the screen said, "Mysterious object appears in Shibuya. What is it?" "I'm here on a street that's a 3-minute walk from Shibuya Station. Look at this mysterious object." The reporter pointed to a 1-meter tall object that was floating at the end of the street. Both Kazuki and I recognized it at once. We'd seen it ourselves just a few days before. "A portal device." Kazuki looked shocked. Her gaze was frozen on the TV screen. What was going on? There was no way the portal device could be on a street near the station. We'd seen it on top of the school. "This object was discovered after an anonymous call this morning." I'm trying to figure out, like... So the reporter thing, literally, it says woman, like the kanji, like it's jose. But generally, I don't know if this is someone who we can't see or what's going on. So I apologize if it's not the voice you were expecting. I read and then finally looked at the screen. "This object was discovered after an anonymous call this morning." The young reporter moved in front of the device and continued to speak. Okay, so it must be in... We just can't see them, I guess. "The police, after a thorough investigation, have blockaded the area. The police say that it might be a bomb. But it seems very pretty, don't you think? It's glowing with this strange, dreamy light. I'd love to see what it looks like at night, personally. What's particularly odd is that there doesn't seem to be anything supporting it. It appears to be floating in the air. How does it do that?" "Hey, what's that?" The cameraman on a TV show was never supposed to speak, but this one did. The reporter stopped talking and looked around to face the portal device. The camera showed that it was changing. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Well, I think we're gonna find out what happened to not Senni. The whole portal device was starting to emit a golden light. "Look, the object is, It's shining brighter than before. What happened? The scene is in an uproar. Get back! It's dangerous! Get back! Oh, a police officer is telling us to get back. This is bad, isn't it? But it's so pretty. Let's go take a closer look. Wait, no. The reporter gave a signal to the cameraman and started to walk towards the device. I gulped as I waited to see what would happen next. It's not a good idea to get close to that, I said in my mind. Of course, no matter what I said here, the reporter on the screen couldn't hear me. What do you suppose is making it shine like that? When you look closer, you can see tiny particles of light swirling around it. It's like art. Oh, the particles are coming together. Wow, it's so pretty. It's like one of those things in old sci-fi movies. What do you call them? Holograms? Is this shape supposed to be some kind of animal? Or maybe it's a dinosaur? The reporter was as chipper as ever. She was speaking in the same way she'd do a food report at a local restaurant. I could see death flags popping up everywhere. I had a bad feeling. And I couldn't help but remember the last look on the woman's face before she disappeared a few days ago. If that object on the screen was the same thing, this reporter was going to disappear as well. I looked away, not wanting to see it. Huh? I could hear the reporter raise her voice in surprise. I looked back at the monitor. Oh shit. Okay, that's not what I thought it was going to be. What? And I saw a monster I'd never seen before. I thought I'd switched the channel somehow, but I could see the reporter on the same screen as the monster. At first, I thought it was CG. That's how unreal it seemed. It looked like a dinosaur. Its skin was bright red, its legs were as big as a human torso, and it had giant wings on its back. Its wicked-looking black horns bent inward towards its jaw. There were 5 golden orbs like jewels shining on its forehead. Look, this is the start of Jurassic Park, maybe. I don't know. I couldn't see any eyes where you might expect them to be. I mean, I guess it would be fantasy Jurassic Park. I would agree. I think writing it would be fun. Eating it, I could go for that. You know what? I'd try it. I don't know how I would manage to eat it, but I'd try it. Even on 4 legs, it was over twice the height of a human. And there were fangs in its huge mouth. The particles of light had come together to form that monster, and the TV camera had captured every second of it. If it wasn't CG, it was unreal. And the monster was moving too. Run, I whispered without even thinking about what I was doing. But the reporter was getting excited and said, Girl, where the fuck is your self-preservation? Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to see it, but also, I would want to get back from it. Wow, what kind of magic is going on here? This big lizard? Dinosaur? Appeared right out of nowhere. It's huge, and it's moving. It's like the real thing. I'm not really sure how it... Ah! Yeah, I thought that was how that was gonna end. It ate her. The reporter had gotten close to it, and it had swallowed her head in one bite. Kazuki suddenly gave a start and screamed. The monster finished gnawing on the reporter's head, and then grabbed the headless body in its mouth and shook it violently. The cameraman screamed, and the video shook violently too. He must have thrown down the camera and ran. The image was a fixed shot of the monster's legs and the bloody head lying on the ground. And then... Yes, sir. The monster roared. Its thick legs started to move. It kicked the woman's head away. And then apparently stepped on the camera since the video cut out. Well, that was a nice little dismemberment on public TV. Then the TV switched back to showing the studio, where the newscasters and commentators were pale and sickly looking. Soon, the image changed to a picture of a field of flowers, with a message reading, "Please stand by." This was a nightmare. That was a live broadcast, right? That meant all of that really happened. Kazuki was covering her mouth with her hands and shaking. Her eyes were fixed on the TV screen. Oh, Kazuki. Oh, girl. What was that? Kazuki slowly turned towards me, but she was too shocked to speak. What was that? I ran over to her and started to shake her shoulders. She forced out the words with tears in her eyes. A flame arch dragon, maybe. It's a monster from SO2. It's a rare monster, but you see it at the start of the game, so every SO2 player knows it. Maybe. That means my delusions are they're still echoing. Oh, Kazuki. So a fictional monster appeared in reality? But Kazuki didn't make any kind of wish like that Monday night. So where did it come from? Had the words she'd said changed somehow? Kazuki can't control her own powers. I remembered what Nightheart had said and shuddered. I mean, it sounds like you would get a lot of EXP for killing it. Because it's so rare. You just have to kill it first, which is generally the problem. A minute later, I booted up SO2 and saw that Nightheart was logged in as well. I decided to talk to him immediately. Oh, and they don't let me slow down this text, so I apologize. You may have to go back and watch it afterwards, or watch it as I'm trying to read it, because it goes really fast when you're having to say it out loud. Did you see the news this afternoon? On Fujisan's TV. Not in real time. I saw what got uploaded to the net later. At-chan's having a festival. Things are starting to go the way they did 6 years ago. Remember the DQM puzzle? Read the wiki. He was enjoying all this. What an asshole. No, but I guess I was the same when I was following the return of the New Generation Madness with the newspaper club. Well, at least we're self-aware. Jokes aside, that news broadcast was bad news. This isn't just about Shibuya anymore. The committee might take action. Who? The Committee of 300. You know them? No. Basically, they're a vast organization that controls the world from the shadows. Sounds like bullshit. 100% agree. But it exists anyway. And they might take action. Might be a war, possibly. A war? I don't know what you mean. You might be happier not knowing. I'll look into it on my side. If something comes up, I'll tell you. What are the chances it's because of Kazuki's power? The hell else could it be? You saw that portal device. Yeah. Just so we're sure, the portal device didn't move. This is the second one, right? Yeah, I just had a friend go look for me and it was still there. Gotcha. So do you think it's possible we'll see the woman who attacked us again? You mean she might not really be dead? I get it. You're seriously thinking she might have been sent to another portal device. No. Isn't it possible that there was a second portal device that appeared on Monday night and we just didn't notice it? Okay, I know I said that I was sure she was dead because there was only one portal, but even if there were two, I can't imagine her surviving a teleport. If you could actually rail boot something like that, it would be the greatest discovery in human history. I'd want it for myself. But that monster doesn't exist either, and it's out there. Huh, got me there. The F-Arch Dragon that reporter ate a cop after that. F-Arch Durg? Flame Arch Dragon, duh. If it can make a dragon, it should be able to make a portal device. She might be alive then. Why not go look then? Find out how many portal devices have appeared in Shibuya. Find out if anything besides the F-Arch Dragon real booted. Oh, I can't help, by the way. Gotta grind an SO2. Weren't you supposed to look into the Committee of 300? Yeah, obviously. I was trying to end things with a gag so this wouldn't get too serious. Sorry, but I'm not in Shibuya right now. If the committee intervenes, it's gonna get bad real fast. So I'm gonna spend my time on that. Tell Kazuki there's no reason to play SO2 for a bit. Yeah, the Committee of 300? Never heard of them. A vast conspiracy that controls the world from the shadows, huh? That sounded like bullshit. Even movies didn't have plots like that these days. Since there was nothing I could do about that, I'd leave it to Nightheart. I mean, to be fair, we still don't know what the committee is, because everything we know about the committee, other than what little bits we heard from Mio, was all made up by Serika. It wasn't real, so I don't know exactly what's going on, who they are, what they would actually care about. What was more important to us was the portal device. Investigate it, huh? Kazuki was looking angrily at the log of my conversation with Nightheart. I gritted my teeth, too. Yeah, maybe someone is using their own powers and tricking Kazuki into blaming herself. It's a possibility. Even if we did investigate the portal device, what were we supposed to do then? If it was created by Kazuki, would we be able to destroy it or get rid of it? No, that's part of what we're investigating, right? Yeah, the committee doesn't seem like a good group, so... I mean, we know that Mio has a lot of, I don't know if you'd call it trauma, but a lot of anger towards them, so... and despite the fact that she is an asshole towards us, she is on the right side, generally, so... Even if she couldn't control her powers, it was Kazuki who'd created it. She couldn't pretend to ignore it. There was even a dragon running around now. More people could die. I guess we don't have a choice, huh? We might be attacked out of nowhere like we were before. That's why I hadn't wanted to leave, but I wasn't tough enough to just leave something that dangerous out there and hide in here forever. I ran to Harajuku and got a cell phone so I'd be able to keep in touch with the others, and then called Serika after school.
Oh, what's up, Taku? Feel like coming to school? But too bad, they closed it after lunch.
Closed it?
Shibuya was sealed off, right? So they closed the school, too.
I see. Where are you now, Shibuya?
At LAX. This place isn't sealed off.
Perfect. I need your help. I told her I wanted to know how many portal devices had appeared in Shibuya.
I don't mind helping, but...
What?
Nana's right in front of me, and she's telling you not to do anything dangerous. I can feel this silent pressure telling me to put her on the phone.
I see. So Kurisu was with her too? Of course, I could understand why she'd be mad. Just like Serika had said, after the shocking incident on the news this afternoon, the police had sealed off Shibuya over the course of a few hours. The number of people in the streets was dropping fast. Supposedly, the National Diet was holding a debate about bringing in the self-defense forces. Of course, they still hadn't gotten rid of the portal devices or the flame dragon. Kurisu probably wanted to tell me that there was nothing an amateur like me could do. But this wasn't like the other investigations the newspaper club had done. I glanced over at Kazuki.
Yeah, I don't mind helping with this, but wouldn't you rather investigate the New Generation Madness?
It's really interesting because if you think back at Hinaya's route, like, the New Generation Madness just stopped. So, Serika decided to just let whatever was happening happen, and I do wonder if this is the same thing that's kind of happening here. I don't know. She was looking down silently. You may not believe this, but that monster that showed up might be me and Kazuki's fault.
Huh? What do you mean?
I can't talk much about it. Just know that we're not doing this because we're curious. I want to find a way to get rid of that monster and those devices.
I see.
I guess that wasn't enough to persuade her. Or so I thought.
Okay, I'll persuade Nan.
Really?
Oh, and Sheen really wanted you to call him. Why not ask him for help? I'm sure he'd love it.
Oh, yeah, I'll try.
So are you going to stay with Hana? Are the two of you going to work together?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Alright, maybe I'll go from Shinsen towards Shibuya Station. I can have a walk-in date with Nan.
Thanks. But if you find a portal device, make sure you stay away from it.
Okay.
And be back home before sunset. Tell Kurisu that too.
Okay.
You really understand? You've got a bad habit of doing whatever you feel like sometimes. Wow, I wonder where we got that from.
Do I? Maybe I do. But you know, I'm good at being sneaky. I'm sure nobody will find me.
I know that, but just be careful.
Okay, so I'll report in tomorrow.
guess school's off tomorrow too, isn't it? So let's all meet up at the club room around noon.
Okay.
After I finished giving my instructions to Serika, I made the same call to Ito. When I asked for his help, he was a little too eager to agree. He seemed like he'd been really bored the past few days. I mean, all of his friends aren't talking to him, so... And the frustration had been building up, he'd said. So I had him head north from Ebisu towards Shibuya Station. Once I'd finished telling him everything he needed to know, I hung up. Kazuki, it's time for us to go too. We decided to head from the dorm to the station, checking every back street and alley we found along the way. The first thing we did was head for the school. It was dead silent. There wasn't a single car. Not only were there no Heikyo students, there weren't even any pedestrians. Had Shibuya ever been this empty at any time since the quake? 6 years ago, there had been rubble everywhere, and I'd felt so alone as I'd faced what seemed like the end of the world. But this seemed different. It didn't seem lonely. It seemed strange. The town was still pristine, but all the people were gone. It was like a ghost town. All the shops had their shutters lowered. They'd closed for the day, it seemed. Everyone had run off as fast as they could. It made sense after what they'd just seen on live TV. We tried to pay as much attention to our surroundings as possible as we headed forward. We were especially careful at intersections. Another monster like that dragon could come rushing out of the shadows at any instant. If we ran into one of them, we wouldn't stand a chance. I could hear the faint sound of someone yelling into a microphone in the distance. The Shibuya area is extremely dangerous at this time. Please stay indoors and evacuate to the designated safe zones. I could see a patrol car in the distance, moving slowly. There was probably an officer inside the car, using his microphone to urge people to evacuate. The car was slowly heading towards us. If we stayed out here, the policeman would tell us we had to leave Shibuya. That would be the end of our investigation. Kazuki, this way. I ducked down a narrow alleyway so that the car wouldn't find us. I felt like a criminal running from the police. Of course, if the portal device's appearance really was our fault, maybe that wasn't totally wrong. We ran left and right through the maze of alleyways and finally came out in front of the parkour. I gasped at what I saw there and quickly hid in the shadows. Kazuki wasn't as quick as I was, so I grabbed her hand and pulled. I ended up pulling her tightly up against my body with my arms around her. Sorry. I quickly let go. Kazuki didn't seem bothered by it. She just adjusted her glasses. Did you see that? This time I quietly popped my head out to take a look. It's a friend! There was another portal device in front of the parkour, and around it were 3 monsters. One was a yellow and black dragon. Was it a different colored version of the one that had eaten the reporter? Now that I saw it up close, I was astonished at its size. The other 2 were 2-legged giants covered in thick white fur, a little less than 3 meters tall. Their arms were as thick as tree trunks. Fortunately, none of them seemed to have noticed us. A poison arch dragon and 2 snow liches, maybe. Are they both SO2 monsters? Kazuki nodded. It really did feel like I was looking at a computer model. It didn't seem real. It kinda stinks. I smelled something kind of rotten. It was a stinging stench that hung in the nose. I could see several red lumps around the feet of the monsters. Yeah, I think we know what those are. I looked closely to see what they were and quickly realized they'd once been human, and now they were just bloody lumps of flesh. They'd been crushed, torn apart, and left there. And it was more than 1 or 2 people. There were at least 10 of them lying on the ground. When the number of portal devices had increased, so had the number of victims. Only then did I finally realize that the stench was coming from the corpses. Ugh. It was so awful I wanted to throw up. I'd seen the reporter die on the news today. It had been a shock, but it also felt like seeing a movie. It hadn't seemed real. But this smell was different. It was all too real. It told me what I was seeing was real before my brain had even started to process it. But I couldn't just stand here in shock. I needed to continue my investigation. That's the third portal we've seen. Which meant that it was safe to assume that there was a fourth and a fifth. How many of them were we going to find? Ito might be fine, but what about Serika and Kurisu? Why did we think Ito would be fine and Serika and Kurisu wouldn't? Like, Serika, granted, we don't know it in this route, but Serika is a mass murderer, and Kurisu routinely kicks her ass. Maybe asking them for help was a mistake. I hadn't realized Shibuya was so dangerous. Is there any way to get rid of them, you think? Kazuki shook her head helplessly. It would be best if we could get rid of them, maybe. I don't know. What have you done before? You've made other things real before, right? What happened with them? Did they keep existing, or did they suddenly disappear at some point? For some reason, Kazuki smiled. Her smile was a mix of sadness and resignation. It was the only answer I needed. She seemed to be saying that there was no way we'd be lucky enough that they'd just disappear. Then, is Shibuya gonna be like this forever? Suddenly I heard the faint noise of a car engine behind me. Just as I spun around, I heard the roar of a beast drown it out. I looked down the hill and... oh shit. I saw a patrol car barreling towards us at top speed. Behind were 5 or so monsters storming after it. What is that? There were other monsters? And they weren't just wandering around near the portal device, but moving around the city? All 5 of them were the same types as the one near the portal device. 3 were hairy giants and 2 were dragons. Wait, they're heading this way. And they were pretty fast, too. Even the cop car couldn't shake them off. Wait, that meant that the car was bringing the monsters to us. It's just a guess now. Anyone who trains is a jerk or an idiot, maybe. Train is game jargon, primarily used in MMORPGs. In games where monsters attempt to attack any player who comes within a certain distance, it's possible to move just out of the monster's attack radius, causing it to follow you. Multiple monsters can be gathered up in this manner, causing them to form a train behind the player. This is called training. Sometimes a player simply panics and trains by accident, but it's often done deliberately. There are many reasons someone might try to do this, but because it can cause nearby players to be caught up in a fight against a large number of monsters, it's considered by most players to be bad manners. I didn't know if it was a common thing that people did, but I understood the nuance. Hide! Let them pass by us! I pulled Katsuki by the hand and ran down the stairs to a shop that sold grilled beef tongue. Tasty. At the bottom of the stairs was the entrance to the store, but all the lights were off inside. We would hide inside and wait for them to pass. I couldn't see what was going on outside from here. My only option was to rely on the sound. I could hear the sound of the police car and the sound of the monster's footsteps shaking the earth. Kazuki gripped my hand tight. If they'd already found us, just imagining it made me shiver. I didn't think those huge monsters could fit down the tiny stairs, but is hiding down here a good idea? There was nowhere to run. Kazuki and I instinctively clutched each other tightly, holding our breath and concentrating on the sounds outside. I could hear the squeal of tires as the patrol car turned down the intersection in front of us. The monsters howled again. The earth shook even more violently. Please don't notice us. All I could do was pray. The sounds got further away. I couldn't hear the police car either. Are they gone? We're saved. You okay? It was then that I realized that Kazuki was clinging to me, or more specifically, I was clinging to her. I'd been holding her so tight that her chest was heaving up and down in pain. I'm sorry. I quickly backed away. Kazuki fidgeted a little and took several deep breaths. Kenji Minamikata, the Cool Cat press author, would have been able to come up with the perfect dandy remark to say at a time like this, I bet. No, I don't think he would have. That man is a virgin if I've ever heard of one. Um, I walked up the stairs and took another look at the portal device in front of the park. The monsters were gone. The police car had drawn away the three monsters that were around the device. We might be able to make it past now. The two of us looked at one another and out from the stairs. But as we tried to run down Spain Hill, we saw something and froze. The portal device was shining with a strange golden light. Oh no. I could hear a loud noise like clashing metal. I watched in shock as the light around the portal device began to coalesce into a monster. Oh, absolutely. The cool cat would probably say the best thing about unconscious chicks is that they can't say no. Like that, I feel like that is would be like on the front cover, like some little subtitle on it somewhere. It was the same thing I'd seen on the news, which meant that another one's coming out. I motioned the Kazuki and we quickly turned back. By the time we made it back to the school, we were both too out of breath to run anymore. Were the monsters just going to keep appearing? If so, then maybe no one would be able to live in Shibuya anymore. And it would be our fault. I suddenly heard a brief blast from a siren. It was another patrol car. Was it the one that had been training the monsters earlier? But I didn't see any monsters around. The patrol car stopped in front of us. The driver's side window opened, and the officer within spoke to us. "Did you see another car come this way?" Kazuki and I both nodded. "Where did you see it? Which way did it go?" "In front of the park." I didn't know which way it had gone, since I hadn't seen it myself. As we stood there in silence, the policeman motioned to us. "Get inside, you two. It's dangerous out here. I'll take you somewhere safe." "But do you want to get killed? There are monsters everywhere. Come on, get in." I almost told him that he should blame the patrol car that had been training back there, but I changed my mind. The policeman was risking his life trying to protect us. He was fighting to get people out of the city, even if it meant facing the risk of being attacked by monsters. I couldn't turn him down just because I wanted to continue my investigations. The next day, we all gathered in the club room. Ito had come all the way around from Harajuku, he'd said. It wasn't safe to walk around in Shibuya anymore. The school itself was supposed to be closed, which made sense because of the portal device on the roof. But strangely, no monsters had appeared from the school's portal device. I didn't know why, though. Kurisu looked pale. Whenever I looked at her, she was silent and concerned. That was a normal reaction to what was happening in Shibuya, I thought. I don't know. I wonder... We still don't know what her power is, so... For his part, Ito didn't look tired at all. Whenever my eyes met his, he would poke me with his elbow. "Hey, so when did you and Kazuki get like that?" Like what? "Don't try and fool me. I never thought you were normal. Now you've gone and left me behind." "Still, I'm amazed it was Kazuki, not Onoe or the Empress. I didn't expect her to be your type." "So what? Are you feeding each other dried squid with your mouths? That's pretty naughty, damn it." No, I don't like that mental image. What the hell was he talking about? Was he stupid? "Ito." Kurisu glared at him. The ice in her stare was well below freezing.
If you're going to be disgusting, would you please just leave now?
I'm sorry. Kurisu sighed and opened her bag. She'd brought an especially big bag today. She took some wrapped up boxes out of the bag and put them on the table.
"Eat these with Kazuki later."
I unwrapped them and saw that they contained sandwiches. Aw. I'm fine, though.
You are not fine. Do you think the convenience stores and supermarkets are open like usual? If you're not careful, you'll run out of food and be in big trouble.
Yeah. I mean, we're all gonna run out of food and be in big trouble, I'm guessing, so... To be honest, I was incredibly grateful. Just like Kurisu had said, none of the stores were open. Last night we'd had to go all the way to Tomigaya. Is it just Onoe who's not here? Is she okay? Serika? You okay, girl? He was right. Serika wasn't here. I just set the meeting time to around noon, so it wasn't like she was late, but I was still worried. Shibuya was swarming with monsters right now. If one of them attacked her on her way to the school? Just as I was thinking about going to look for her, the door to the club room flung open and Serika came running in.
Oh, everybody's here already. Am I late? If you're going to be late, then send us a message. Don't you know what's happening out there? Sorry. Isn't it kind of exciting to be at a school when no one else is around? I just went for a run around the gym.
Was that why she was late? I didn't know whether she was brave, thoughtless, or just dumb. I didn't know how she could laugh at a time like this. I want to know, if she can read minds, what are the monsters thinking? Can she, like, read the minds of animals too? I want to know.
Oh, hey, did you not call Hina?
Why would we call Arimura? She wasn't part of the newspaper club.
You were attacked by a woman who shot fire from her hands, right? I wondered if that might have something to do with this.
It does, but to be honest, it really doesn't.
Huh?
That doesn't make any sense. If nothing else, she's not gonna attack us again, I think. I wasn't sure that I'd never see her again, yet Arimura was fine after the attack, right?
Yeah, we were with her the whole time. She stayed at Alba Dorm that night. She was a lot calmer the next morning, so we sent her home.
Then there was no need to worry about her. Okay. We've just kicked her out of the route, apparently. Alright, can I get started? I mean, that would be a really good reason to be a vegetarian. Like, I mean, I guess that you could always guess that animals probably would not like getting eaten, but it would affect you if you could actually hear the animal itself, I think. I think it would probably just be different. I asked you all to go search Shibuya yesterday, and I'd like to put together your findings to figure out how many portal devices there were in Shibuya. I explained to everyone that they were called portal devices because they came from a game called SO2.
Huh? I don't understand. Can you explain better? What do these portal whatsits have to do with you and Hana?
There's no real need to explain anything to you, is there, Onoe? You're not going to understand either way. Oh,
Oh, right.
that was good enough for her.
But I want to know anyway.
Takuru, explain.
People are dead. A lot of people. What are those monsters?
Oh, I saw them too. They were attacking a cop car. And then there was that first live broadcast. Like, what the hell are those things? Monsters. Literally. More and more are showing up all the time. They're multiplying? Seriously?
There were bodies everywhere. It was awful. If you're saying that's your fault, then explain.
I might be able to explain my way out of it. I might be able to talk my way out of explaining things to Serika or Ito, but it wasn't going to work on Kurusu. I'd said on the phone yesterday that the portal devices and monsters might be my fault after all. Yeah, the monsters say ACAB. Kazuki was standing in front of the whiteboard, staring down at her feet. It wouldn't be right to not explain. After all that had happened, there was no way I'd be able to keep it a secret. It would probably be better to just explain things to the people in the newspaper club. And so I told... why are we not asking Kazuki if it's okay? Like, the hell, man. And so I told them everything, including the secret of Kazuki's power. At first, no one seemed to know how to react. Then they all looked astonished. I thought Ito would tell me to stop joking around, but by the time I was halfway done, he was holding his head in his hands.
Seriously? Oh, this is nuts.
Do you believe me?
I do. I'd never been able to figure out why you and Kazuki were so close all of a sudden. I mean, I can't imagine you convincing Kazuki to be your girlfriend, but this explains it. Is that what you're focusing on here?
Either way, I'm not interested in discussing whether what I just said is true or not. Let me focus on the portal devices now. Everyone nodded. Okay, I think here is where I have to start getting things wrong. But I'm gonna check really quick. Apologies, I didn't have this pulled up before stream. Okay, so yeah. In order to get the bad end, we're just gonna get all of our mapping triggers wrong on this one. Yeah, seriously, am I the only one here who doesn't have psychic powers? I mean, technically, he was possessed for a little bit, the first route, so that's like almost psychic powers. It's a step away from psychic powers.
Alright, we should take turns telling you what we saw. Whether we saw any of those, what'd you call them, portal devices?
The police actually found us and drove us out of Shibuya yesterday. When I was in the patrol car, they told me what they knew. After everyone tells me what they saw, I'll compare it to what I heard from them.
Alright, I'll start. I found 2 portals. One was floating right in front of the Shibuya police station, down Meiji Street, between Ebisu and the train station.
Right in front of Shibuya police station, huh?
I turned around and headed across Shibuya River towards Sakura Kaocho.
It bugs me to read that in Nomaji. Like, I know what the kanji is, and so every time I read it in Nomaji, it's like my brain sits there and goes, what the hell is that? Before it finally hits. Yeah, look, Ito gets the worst end of the stick on pretty much all of these.
And when I tried to cross Roppongi Street, I saw one at Shibuya Station South Exit Bus Terminal.
The South Exit Bus Terminal?
Those monsters are nasty, huh? I thought one of the Easter Island statues had gotten up and started walking around.
In front of the Shibuya Police Station on Meiji Street. And the South Exit Bus Terminal at Shibuya Station, right? I should mark this on the map. Okay, so I have to check which one it is so that I don't pick it. Okay. I do not know how you're supposed to be able to guess it, but we're just gonna randomly put things down. Let's see, this next one is, we'll put it here. Like, was I supposed to be paying attention to the map of Shibuya? Because I wasn't before. How about you two, Onoe?
We found 2. Oh, but one of them was the one from the news yesterday.
That's the one behind Sign City, right? Sign City was a pair of buildings right on the west side of Shibuya Station. It was a hotel and office complex with its own private railroad. It had survived the earthquake 6 years ago.
That's right. We went down a tiny alley on our way up through Dogenzaka.
In Dogenzaka, huh?
The other was right in front of the 10-7.
In Dogenzaka. Yeah, I didn't even get to choose that one. And in front of the 10-7. I should mark that information down too, okay? Okay. We'll put it... Mitome... That matches with what I heard from the police. We've just got things in the completely wrong areas. They have got to be looking at us going, the fuck are you doing with this map? We found one device. It was right in front of Parku. So when we start doing the actual one, I will probably be leaning in, trying to actually read what's on the map so that I can figure out if I understand why. Because it's been a while since I've looked at a map of Shibuya. Or whether we're just supposed to know the map of Shibuya. The police seem to think that the monsters are active within a 100-meter radius of the portal devices. That was probably just as close as any of them dared to get. Of course, there was a chance that even if you got that close, the monsters wouldn't see you, or that they'd attack you outside of that area.
Do the police know where all the portals are?
Yeah, in addition to the ones you found. That seems about right.
Huh. It looks like they're surrounding the station. Does that mean anything?
Does it mean anything?
Maybe they don't want people in Shibuya using the station?
Why? Don't ask me.
Hey, Hana, do you know?
Kazuki was still staring at her feet.
Oh, sorry. I'm not saying it's your fault, Hana. I was just trying to figure it out.
There's no meaning. It's all coincidence. I spoke as if to reprove Seriko, but it was just as Nightheart had told me. I told you, right? Kazuki can't control her power. The fact that the portal devices are showing up at places people go to a lot is proof of that. It's easier for her delusions to echo in places like that.
I understand?
Don't tilt your head in confusion when you say that you understand. You don't understand at all. Anyway, this is really bad.
What's bad?
There are a lot of people stuck in the Hikario. Huh? Who? Weren't they supposed to evacuate all the people left in the station? Shibuya had been put under a heavy curfew yesterday. The police had gone around evacuating anyone they could find. Last night, all the train companies had stopped transit to Shibuya Station. They weren't sure the station would be safe. The station had been shut down and the shutters lowered. A lot of people had been trapped then, and there was a big debate online about how to get them out. As of this morning, one of the railroad companies had put together a desperate plan to send a train to the station and get the people out.
I heard there's a bunch of people who deliberately didn't evacuate, and they're all in the Hikario. You know, there's all those homeless people in Miyashita Park, right? Those guys.
I see. They don't have anywhere else to go. Then, was Gen there too? Who knew how safe it would be?
The station's been sealed off, right? It's kind of like it was 6 years ago. Don't you think so, Taka?
Don't say that. A month ago, I would have been so excited, but only because I wasn't directly involved. But now, things were different. I was partially to blame for this. I couldn't feel any excitement at all. Okay, so now that we've just stuck pins in random places on the map, we all tried to come up with plans to fix things, but no one had any real ideas. We knew the answer from the beginning. Since there was no way to control Kazuki's power, there was no way for her to get rid of her delusions. After about 2 hours, we started to realize that it might not be safe to stay at the school and decided to head home.
Takuru, you don't have anywhere to go, do you? Why not come home?
By home, she meant Alba Dorm. Yeah, except for Dad's there, and I have not forgiven him yet. She was right that I couldn't go back to Miyashita Park. There might be monsters there now.
Taka's staying with Hana now, right?
How lewd. Kazuki shook her head furiously.
Hey, Miyashiro, are you taking baths while you're there? You run into her naked in the bath yet?
Okay, Ito, shut the fuck up. That was all Ito seemed to care about.
Ito, enough. I don't know if that ever actually happens. I mean, they're always together, right? It would make sense.
Kazuki's face turned bright red as she pounded the wall. Yeah, unsurprisingly.
Nothing like that's happened, she says. I see. Sorry.
It was rare to see Kazuki so upset.
So, Takuru, what will you do? Come home?
No, I won't. I can't leave Kazuki alone.
Then both of you can come.
I can't do that. It might put the dorm in danger.
That's not... Taku, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go, everybody. Come on, you two, Non. Wait, Serika? Taku, Hana, bye!
Sedika smiled and waved, then grabbed Ito and Kurisu by the hand and went to leave the school.
Takeru, take care of Kazuki. If something happens, call me right away. Got it?
Yeah. Kurisu looked like she wanted to say more, but Sedika dragged her out of the room before she could. Kazuki and I were left alone in the club room. I just decided that on my own. Was that okay? If you don't want me coming over anymore, tell me. She shook her head again. That was all she'd been doing lately. But then she suddenly started to talk. She'd been so insistent about not talking when everyone else was around. Did that mean she trusted me?
Is Serika going to be upset?
Upset?
If you come to my room, Serika might be upset, maybe.
Why?
Because you two are dating, right?
Huh? No, we are not.
But you're always together, maybe.
Because we've known each other since we were kids.
You're not dating. I didn't know that, maybe.
Had Kazuki gotten mad back there because she didn't want Serika misunderstanding things? If so, then she'd been wasting her time. Still, I can't believe you thought that. I'm a little surprised. You didn't seem like you cared about anyone else. Oh my god, Taka. Anyway, let's go home. It might be dangerous here. But then I realized Kazuki had sat down on the PC to play SO2. We are not going to do a fake out make out because she's gaming. Which, like, you know what? Good for her. And she had her headphones on. Wait, when did you start the game? Sheesh. She must have been really excited to play her game. Kazuki's gaze was locked on the monitor. She didn't look away for an instant. Her concentration was palpable. If I interrupted her, she might punch me instead of the wall. It wouldn't hurt to let her play for a while. Since I didn't have much to do while she was playing her game, I decided to go up to the roof. Yeah.
So you're single then?
Of course, I didn't go to the back. I just went up past the crumbling stairs to look outside. The portal device was still floating out there. But unlike the one in front of Parku, there were no bodies anywhere. Just a single red stain on the floor. Were monsters not going to appear from this one? I felt an indescribable terror welling up in me. It was so scary being here alone. I ran back to the club room. Once Kazuki started her game, she wouldn't take her headphones off no matter how much I yelled at her. She was totally lost within her game and had totally forgotten I'd ever existed. That's right, that's who Hana Kazuki was. She wouldn't normally use her power to save me regardless of the risks, or let me stay in her room. Normally, this was who she was. I'd been living with her in the same room for a few days, and so I'd forgotten that. Still, I was amazed how she could play a game for so long without any breaks. Didn't she ever have to go to the bathroom? Actually, I remembered the Cool Cat Press had once sent an article on gamers who never left their seats. They'd said a true gamer would rather keep playing than take the time to go to the bathroom. So if they had to go, they used a plastic soda bottle or something like that. When I'd seen the article, I'd thought it had to be fiction. But watching Kazuki, I wasn't so sure. Wait, did Kazuki ever go in soda bottles? Don't think that's how anatomy works, to be completely honest. No. What the hell am I thinking? Ever since I'd started living in the same room, I'd started having more and more delusions like that. Maybe it was just because I was a boy undergoing puberty. But later I'd come to hate myself for feeling that way, given all that was going on. A huge noise almost caused me to jump up in the air. Kazuki had hit the wall again. What had happened this time to upset her? I looked outside the window. The sky was turning red. It was surprisingly noisy outside. There wasn't a single person inside or outside the school, but the noise was coming from the police sirens on the ground and media helicopters up above. Yeah, a true gamer has a urine bottle and a poop sock. The media had decided it was too risky to head into Shibuya directly, and so they were forced to do their reporting from the sky. Still, it felt like they'd been there all day, from morning to night. I was amazed that they hadn't gotten bored. Without anyone here in Shibuya, it wasn't like there was anything that could happen. I don't know, the monsters could fight each other. Taku, where's your imagination? Then I thought I heard a different noise than the sound of helicopter rotors. I held my breath and listened. It didn't seem like I was imagining it. I could hear the sound. It was a sound I'd normally never pay any attention to, but a sound that I definitely shouldn't have heard in this building. Someone's footsteps were coming down the hall. That was enough to bring back my memory of several days ago. Was that woman still alive? Particularly nasty sweat started to pour out of my body. I tried my best not to make a sound as I concentrated all my focus into my ears. The footsteps didn't sound like the person was wearing heels. I didn't hear any dragging. It wasn't that woman. At least, that's what I wanted to believe. But then, who? Was someone besides us in the school? But who? The others had gone home hours ago. Had they come back? But then, wouldn't they call or text me first? I'd peeked in the teacher's office when I'd arrived, and there was no one there. The only other possibility I could think of was that someone besides us had ignored the police warning and stayed in Shibuya. The footsteps were getting closer. I tapped Kazuki on the shoulder and made her take off her headphones. Someone's coming. Huh? What should we do? Hide? Run out into the hallway? They probably knew we were here. Nobody would come all the way to the 5th floor of this building otherwise. But then, who could they be? Maybe the mastermind who was controlling that woman? If that was the case, it would be a bad idea to try and hide. But it didn't seem like Kazuki and I would be able to fight them. We had to run. It was better than hiding. Was it? Kazuki, we're gonna run. I saw Kazuki nod, then took a deep breath and opened the door. I ran out into the hallway, but there was someone standing there and I ran straight into them. Huh? I lost my balance and almost fell over. Someone grabbed my hand as it flailed out into the air. Are you okay? Huh? It was only then that I realized who it was. You! Mr. Wakui? Hey, so it was you guys, huh? The language teacher, an advisor for the newspaper club and student council, looked at us both and grinned. There was a call from some of the parents. Wakui nibbled on the dried squid Kazuki offered him as he explained. They were showing shots of Shibuya from the sky on the news, and someone said they saw people in the building. So I came to check on you. Sheesh, they can't cut me a break, huh? All I could do was laugh. It was just like Wakui to end up being forced into coming here because he couldn't bring himself to refuse. We'd managed to make it here because we knew a lot about the situation in Shibuya, but Wakui must have come without doing any research at all. Wrong-siders like him were always the first to die. Too much time in peaceful Japan had addled his brain. What were you doing? They closed the school because it's dangerous. Now, how to talk my way out of this? There was no point in telling Wakui the truth. As I tried to figure out the best way, Kazuki walked back to the computer and booted up SO2 again. Wakui stared at her suspiciously for a moment. Were you playing video games? Kazuki nodded without looking away from the screen. So that's why? You guys know people have died, right? It's safer to be inside the school than outside, right? But wouldn't it be even safer to leave Shibuya altogether? I live in Miyashita Park. Oh, right. There's nowhere you can go? Some relative's place? This conversation was pointless. I'd known Wakui since I started the newspaper club, and I never told him I didn't have any relatives. Anyway, I do understand how you feel. Huh? I mean, Shibuya is basically under martial law, right? It's not every day that you get to experience that. Even if you know it's dangerous, you still want to experience it, I guess.
I guess it's one of the follies of youth. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, honestly. Oh, you seem confused to hear that. Just so you know, I was young once, too.
I hadn't been confused. I'd been bored.
It felt like this was going to take a while.
And he was totally trying to pull off the teacher who understands his student act. There's nothing wrong with that, Mr. Wakui, but you're wasting your time trying to understand me and Kazuki right now. Yeah, he would be the first to die in a horror film. You're welcome for checking in on you in an emergency, by the way. Literally, he wouldn't be the first to possibly die if we weren't in the building, because we could have decided to meet anywhere else.
The young always want to rebel against the system, against the adults. In fact, the first few decades after World War II, Japan was filled with young people like that. I guess it was around my parents' generation when things started to calm down. They were a little too understanding, you see, especially my generation and the ones after us.
Huh. I wasn't sure how to respond to this. What was the best way to get rid of this guy? I couldn't let him find out that Kazuki and I were staying in the same room, which meant that ideally I wanted to leave the school without him.
Huh?
My phone started to vibrate in my pocket. Luckily, he was still talking, but I took it out anyways as a sign that I wasn't interested in hearing what he had to say. I had a message. It was from Kazuki. From Kazuki? I looked up. Kazuki was still playing SO2 with her back to me, but when I looked carefully, I saw that she was holding her smartphone with the hand that wasn't holding the mouse. Why would she send me a text message if I was standing right in front of her? Oh my god, dude. Ah, right-sider, right? This man does not know how to get out of a situation. It was always so hard to tell what Kazuki was thinking. That's true. Everyone knows the sex havers do die first in horror, and despite our best efforts to let Cool Cat ruin our love life, we are somehow closest to that out of all of these characters, which is so sad. Or maybe there was something important that she couldn't tell me because Wakui was here? Anyway, I looked at the message. Huh?
Miyashiro, is something wrong?
Oh, no.
Yeah? Alright.
Anyway, where was I? Well, you see, Wakui was still talking. Was he always this talkative? My heart was pounding loud and fast. My mind still couldn't process it. I couldn't believe what I just saw in that text message. I took another look at it, being careful not to let Wakui see. Message from Nightheart. Mr. Wakui is an assassin from the committee. Ha! I knew he was involved somehow. The committee would be the committee of 300 that Nightheart had been talking about, right? Their assassin was Wakui? The language teacher? The guy who was rambling on in front of me?
By the way, what was the name of that thing you were looking into?
Huh?
You know, the one on the board. Did you find something out?
Should I believe him or not? Nightheart had said that the committee of 300 might take action, but he hadn't told me why. What were they after? If he was an assassin, were they trying to kill me and Kazuki? Did they not like what was happening in Shibuya right now? I mean, I don't think anyone likes what's happening in Shibuya right now. There are fucking monsters everywhere. Of course, no one would like it, not just the committee. But killing us wouldn't make things better. Did the committee not know that? But if I told them, would they really just leave me alone? Or was there another reason they wanted to kill us? I didn't know. There was no way for me to know. It was all just guesses. Was what Nightheart had said even true anyway? Did the committee of 300 really exist? Where did he find that out? How? What was his source? Looking back, it was hard to say if he was even on our side. Kazuki seemed to trust him, though. Was it possible that Nightheart was the real assassin? If I wanted to be really skeptical, I couldn't even be sure that Nightheart had contacted Kazuki just now. There was a chance that she was lying to me. I didn't know why, but there was a chance she might be trying to make me think that Wakui was a bad guy. There we go. This isn't Wakui. This is Agent 47 wearing his clothes. The real Wakui is unconscious in a broom cupboard, stripped to his undies. There were all sorts of things to doubt. I was so confused. What should I believe in? Who should I believe? Who was I supposed to believe? Hey, Miyashiro? Hearing my name called shook me out of the trance. Evidently, I'd been lost in thought. You look kind of pale. Oh, no. What were we talking about again? About the case? That's right. You were doing a lot of crazy things while you were looking into it, right? Katsuki looked over her shoulder at me. When I saw the little bit of fear in her eyes, I made my decision. That's right. Whether or not I could trust Nightheart, there was no way I couldn't trust Kazuki. She wasn't the type of person who could lie to someone. Okay, don't know about that, but. And it didn't make a lot of sense for Wakui to be here right now. He was the type of person who'd go out of his way to avoid trouble. Would he really put himself into danger by coming to Shibuya just because a parent had called? Kurisu was complaining to me a long time ago. She said that you weren't listening to anything she said, so she wanted me to talk to you. Huh. But then why was Wakui rambling on like this? If he was an assassin, wouldn't he just try to kill us? They wouldn't send a complete amateur. He should be capable of killing us. I realized I was more nervous than I thought, but I couldn't let it show. If Wakui found out, I was finished. You know, when I was a student, I would hear about wars and terrorist attacks going on all over the world and think about it a lot. I mean, to be fair, this guy did just say he wanted to experience martial law, so he's a little unhinged whether he's an assassin or not. I actually ended up putting on a backpack and going on a trip. You know, one of those find yourself trips. Uh, I'm kind of surprised. Right? I was young then. What could be the reason that Wakui was still talking about all of this? I could eliminate the possibility that Nightheart was wrong. If he was, then I'd be fine. It would be safer to assume the worst case. Possibility number one. He was trying to drag out the conversation to learn something from us. His target might be just me, or it might be just Kazuki. What if he wasn't sure who it was yet? Perhaps he was only after the person who'd created the portal device, and he wasn't sure if that was me or Kazuki. Possibility number two. He was hesitant. He was our club advisor, after all. It was possible that he felt some kind of sympathy for us. No, there was no chance of that. But you know, I took your side. I understand how Kurisu feels, but you know, I'm a man like you. Was he just waiting for us to fall into some trap? Or was he just not worried because he didn't think we knew who he was? I sent a quick message back to Kazuki. We're going to run. As someone who was once a boy, I sympathized. It wasn't just that you were too lazy to come lecture me? How rude. Well, to be honest, you're right. Immediately, an answer came from Kazuki. How? For now, I just wanted to get out of this room. And get away from Wakui too, if I could manage it. But you know, it's not good to go too far. Huh? You're still students, you see. If you break the law, you could ruin your whole futures. Y- you mean the reporting we're doing? Hmm? No, we haven't done anything wrong. We broke into a crime scene. I'm pretty sure we did something wrong. That scared me. I thought he was talking about something else. The next thing I knew, my throat was parched. I gulped down the entire Mountain View I'd just bought from a vending machine earlier. This was looking bad. Both Kazuki and I were powerless. There was basically no chance of us both getting away. I might have to pick the better of two bad choices. This was my one hope for avoiding the worst possible outcome. Hey, Kazuki? Kazuki jerked upwards when I spoke to her. She slowly, fearfully turned around. She was so nervous her movements were stiff. Come on, act natural. Can you go get me something to drink? I just ran out. Wait, Miyashiro, are you still planning on staying here? I really have to get you guys home. I want to hear more about what you have to say. What? Really? That makes me happy. Students these days always seem to get bored when I talk about old times. Why don't we do an article for the newspaper club? We could do a whole special on you. Aw, you're embarrassing me. I was shocked to find that I was speaking as well as say, Ito. And Kazuki wants to keep playing her game for a while, right? Kazuki stood up, uncertain. We'll stay here for a while, so go get me something to drink from the vending machine. I took a coin out of my pocket and practically forced it into Kazuki's hand. Thanks. Run away without me. I tried to motion to her with my eyes. I don't know if she understood.
Hmm.
She nodded reluctantly. Then she slipped past me and headed for the door. Kazuki, are you okay? Want me to go with you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm thirsty. I need something to drink. Katsuki just pulls a bottle from under her skirt. All I have is gamer juice. Um, was he watching us? Did he figure us out? His expression was the same as it had been for a while now. It was the same goofy look the students always joked about. She said she's fine. There's nobody here in the school right now. If you want something to drink too, maybe ask Kazuki to get it for you? And then I realized that I might have made a mistake. Kazuki's hand was already on the doorknob. Oh, maybe I will.
Hmm.
I'll take a can of coffee. The one with a little bit of sugar. You know the one I mean. It says for mornings on it, and it's in a red can.
Hmm.
Kazuki glanced at me. You're worrying too much about me. He'll figure out that something's wrong. Luckily, he was rummaging through the inner pocket of his suit. I never put coins in my wallet, you know. I always keep them in different pockets. So if I ever drop my wallet, I won't lose as much money. Oh, that doesn't go for bills, though. I put them in a bill holder. He really was talkative today. How long did it take to search for change? And you know, if you forget where you put your money, when you find it again, you feel like you've made a lucky discovery, right? You need those kinds of small joys in life. Mr. Wakui, hurry up and give her the money. I'm really thirsty. I got a little aggravated and my tone was a bit harsh, but I instantly regretted it. If I didn't act calm, Wakui would figure out what I was up to. Sorry I'm having so much trouble finding it. Oh, here we go. Wakui finally took 200 yen out of his pants pocket. Okay, thanks.
Hmm.
Kazuki spread out her hand. It was holding the few coins that I'd given her. Wakui put his hand over hers and dropped two 100 yen pieces. The coins fell and collided with the coins in Kazuki's hand and didn't make a sound. Huh? That's weird. This close, I should be able to hear the sound of two small pieces of metal colliding. Luckily, he was rummaging through his pockets again as he opened and closed his mouth. What was he doing? It felt weird. Suddenly, I realized why. Wakui was talking to Kazuki, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. Why? I put my finger in my ear to see if it was clogged, and then I noticed something else weird. Normally, I'd be able to hear the sound of my fingertip touching my eardrum, but no matter how many times I jammed my finger into the small hole, I didn't hear a sound. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard any other sound for a while either. Why? What was going on? I spoke to Kazuki. Is something weird going on? I thought I said that, but I couldn't hear my own voice. Kazuki didn't respond at all. She was just looking at the coins in her hand as if she was about to cry. Can you hear me? I yelled louder, but it didn't work. Why? This didn't make sense. My hearing was normal a second ago. There was no way I could just go deaf like that, which meant something was going on, but I had no idea what it could be. I tried to tell myself that I might be hallucinating. I closed my lips and stood as still as I could. I listened carefully. It wasn't pure silence. I could hear what sounded like a ringing in my ears. I could still hear it. How did ringing in your ears work again? Was it really sound in the strictest sense? Was it made by vibrating air? Or was it some kind of supersonic wave? Suddenly, I felt very nervous, and I opened up my web browser on my phone to run a search. When I read what I found there, I got scared. Stress is said to be one cause, but it is still unknown where exactly in the body it occurs. What the hell? I was sure that modern medicine would have an answer for that. How could they just say they didn't know? Once I started noticing it, I couldn't ignore the ringing. The constant noise started to seem extremely unpleasant. Why was I hearing this ringing and nothing else? I looked back at Kazuki. She was holding her ears and looking around frantically. Was it happening to her too? Kazuki! I tried yelling. Kazuki didn't respond, but Wakui looked at me. His lips twisted into a grin. It was him. He was like a totally different person. The face of lazy, unreliable teacher had changed completely. The easygoing, peaceful smile was gone. That was when I knew. He was an assassin from the committee, just like Nightheart had said. What was happening to me was because of his attack. But how could he be doing that? Was he a psychic too? Uh, it felt like the ringing was growing louder. It was all I could hear. It kept ringing at the same frequency, never letting up. It's like it was stabbing into my brain. I really appreciate that they didn't make the ringing happen so we could hear it. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. There was no point in putting my hands over my ears. The ringing hadn't even been there for that long, but I already felt like I was going crazy. I screamed. I tried yelling as loudly as I could, but it didn't work. No matter how much I howled, I couldn't hear my own voice. Who could have known it would be so stressful not to be able to hear your own voice? I put my hand to my throat and screamed again. My vocal cords were vibrating. I must be speaking, but all I could hear was the noise. Was this really just a ringing in my ears anyway? I mean, it's a possibility. I thought that she had to speak it out loud, but I mean, she could have whispered it or something. It seemed like endless thunder in the sky. Maybe I was starting to go crazy. Maybe hearing the ringing for so long meant that I couldn't even recognize it as ringing anymore. Or maybe I was just hallucinating. My head started to hurt. Maybe. My field of vision kept wavering. I couldn't keep my balance. Even standing up became difficult. It was like standing on the deck of a ship during a storm. I fell to my knees, unable to stay up any longer. I begged to hear another sound. I slapped my own body and slammed my smartphone into the ground, desperate to hear any other kind of sound, but it didn't work. Then I felt my phone vibrating and looked at the screen. I had a message. Was it from Kazuki? Maybe she found a solution. I opened it, hopeful. But of course, my hopes were immediately crushed. It was from Wakui, not Kazuki. And this is what it said. They say that in a completely silent environment, a human will go mad within 45 minutes. I looked up. Wakui was looking down at me with a cruel smile on his face. There was a can of coffee in his hands. I wasn't sure when he'd gotten it. He took a slow sip from it and laughed. What happened to Kazuki? I spun my head around, desperately looking for her. She was rolled up in a ball by the entrance to the room. She'd covered her ears with her hands and was shaking. She couldn't escape either. Had Wakui known all along? That we knew who he was and were trying to escape? I'd thought I could get the initiative, but he'd been laughing at me the whole time. Still, wasn't there anything that could be done about this ringing? I thought it was a constant frequency, but it wasn't. There was a faint rhythm. What was the sound? I wanted to get rid of it somehow. Otherwise, I might really go crazy like Wakui had said. Then my phone shook again. It was another message from Wakui. Do you want to know what that sound is? I looked up at Wakui and nodded. He laughed. He seemed truly happy and moved his lips in big, easy to read motions. It's the sound of your body. It was only then that I realized that I made so much noise, that there were so many different, chaotic noises within my own body. It made sense. It was normal for a living creature. My heart beat, my blood vessels contracted, my heart cycled, my cells died and were born. My lungs inhaled air and exhaled carbon dioxide. My organs emitted all kinds of different fluids. My intestines contracted, my nails grew, my hair grew. All of those things made tiny little sounds. Normally, you would go through your entire life without hearing the sounds your own body made. But now, with my sense of hearing shut off, they were overflowing from within me. They were the sounds of my life. But there was no joy in hearing the breath of life so directly. I wasn't trying to make these sounds. Felt like my body wasn't mine. It felt like someone was giving my body orders without asking my permission. And once I started thinking that way, I couldn't stop. My mind and body had separated. There was nothing but the terrifying sounds of life. My own body scared me. I wanted to rip my mind away from this lump of flesh. I wanted to rip off my skin and yank out my lungs, my heart, my intestines, every single organ, every single blood vessel. I screamed in fear, but I couldn't hear myself. Only the chaotic sounds of my body as they played in layered harmony. And since there was nothing else to hear, I was forced to listen. I was forced to imagine which organ was making each sound. The sounds overlapped more and more, a disharmonious sound that bounced off of the walls of my skull. I didn't know if it was a real sound, an echo, or if I was just hallucinating. My thoughts were swept up in the flood of sound. This didn't make sense. Why was I suffocating in a flood of sound if I couldn't hear? How long was this going to last? The rest of my life? Until I died? I couldn't stand that. Did he say that after 45 minutes I'd go mad? I wasn't even going to last that long. I didn't want to hear this noise for another second. Someone turn it off. I'll do anything as long as you turn it off. I'd rather die. I want to die. Kill me. I crawled along the floor and reached out my hand towards Wakuif's feet. Kill me. I begged for death. Kill me. I longed for the silence that awaited beyond it. Kill me. Release me from this sound, please. Kill me. Suddenly, a sound like shattering glass traveled from my ears to the rest of my body. I could hear my own voice. The sound of my shallow breathing was surprisingly clear. It wasn't just that. The sound of my clothes rustling, the tiny chirping of birds in the distance, the sound of the wind or the leaves blowing through trees, the sound of a patrol car siren, the sound of Kazuki's pained coughing as she curled up in a ball next to me. I could hear all those tiny sounds. I could hear every single sound in the world with abnormal clarity. What? What just happened? My vision was blurry. My head still hurt. But the sound was back. I'd never been so happy in my life to hear all this noise. We were interrupted, I see. Wakui spoke calmly as he walked to the windowsill. The glass in the clubroom window was broken. He picked up something off the floor. It was a ball. A baseball, huh? A coincidence. Or not. A baseball had come through the window? And that had interrupted Wakui's attack? This was the fifth floor. Who had thrown the ball? The baseball team wasn't practicing outside, and this room didn't even face the baseball diamond anyway. The only people in the school, no, in the whole surrounding area, should have been me, Kazuki, and Wakui. I suppose this is her way of saying that if I'm going to mess with Miyashiro and his friend, I need to give her a very good reason. She really does spoil you, Miyashiro. Wakui was saying something. He didn't seem to be talking to anyone. He wasn't speaking to us. He wasn't on the phone. What was he talking about? Alright, that's enough for today, I guess. Miyashiro, Kazuki, I'm afraid we'll have to continue this another time. Wakui's voice was gentle, but he didn't even glance down at us as he went to the door. I'll tell you one thing, though. Don't think you can get away. You've gone too far. The committee has designated you an enemy of the world. The matter has been decided, you see. No matter where on Earth you run, we'll use our worldwide network to track you. We won't let you escape. Ever. Goodbye. Be careful on your way home. Yeah, everything in my body makes sound, including my pancreas. Wakui left, and Kazuki and I were left alone. I could hear Kazuki moan. I could hear her breathing clearly. Kazuki, are you okay? I was surprised at my voice. Was this what my voice sounded like? Kazuki was still lying on the ground, shaking her head. Of course she wasn't fine. I looked closer and saw that there was a puddle under her legs. Her skirt was strangely wet, too. She must have peed herself when Wakui had attacked her. That was just how terrifying it was. Why had Wakui let us go? Why had he tortured us instead of just killing us? I didn't know, and I didn't want to think about it. I didn't even have the energy to stand up, but I forced myself to do so anyway. I didn't want to stay here. There was probably nowhere that was safe, but I wanted to get away before Wakui changed his mind. I let Kazuki lean on my shoulder as we left the school. Of course, we saw no one on the way home. October 17th, 2015, Saturday. It was after 7 p.m. in the evening, but there wasn't a single train car coming down the Yamanote line. It wasn't just the trains. The whole of Shibuya was a ghost town. There was no light and nothing moved. The town itself was eerily clean. That was the big difference between now and 6 years ago. Luckily, I went inside the pedestrians' tunnel under the train tracks, listening to the voices of the monsters howling in the distance. The night wind blew past him, colder than before. The moonlight didn't reach inside the tunnel, so it was extremely dark. Wakui could sense a lone girl in the darkness. Hello. Right on time, I suppose. The girl he'd summoned moved away from the wall she'd been leaning on, then stood with her back to the moonlight. Her eyes shone with a strange light that made Wakui shudder. You can have this back. Here. Wakui tossed the baseball he was holding at the girl. She didn't even try to catch it. Instead, it struck her in the chest and fell to the floor, where it bounced several times. Oh, you don't need it back? Or was it school property? Tell me why you attacked Takuru Miyashiro and Hana Kazuki. The girl, Serika Onoe said. It wasn't her usual feminine voice. There was an arrogance in it. Wakui was in a position to deserve her respect, but she showed no signs of it. He didn't like that at all, but didn't feel like bringing it up. The committee, as well as Wakui, its messenger, had decided to respect Serika's position, at least for as long as their interests were aligned. Are you willing to fight the committee, depending on my answer? You interrupted me back there. That was more than sufficient for the committee to decide to eliminate you. I won't let you kill Takure Miyashiro on a whim. If you want to try, you need to tell me why. Depending on your reason, I'll either allow it or cut ties with you. Allow it, huh? Well, that was the deal we made. Yeah, did you just bean me in the titty? But you know, he really is all you ever think of, isn't he? It's quite impressive. The Committee of 300 was cooperating with Serika Onoe. More precisely, they were allowing her to get away with what she was doing. Tell me why. Serika stared straight at Wakui. She didn't look away for an instant. Her face was expressionless, and it was hard to believe that a teenage girl could be so calm in this situation. Wakui slumped his shoulders in a slightly exaggerated fashion. Our problem is with Hana Kazuki, not Takuru Miyashiro, you see. She's gone too far. This is the same nonsense we went through 6 years ago. We've been very quietly performing our experiments here in the city, and now there's all this chaos. Since she can't control her power, it's not fair to put all the blame on her. But still, the fact is that her delusion is what caused this problem. The actions of this one girl have disrupted order in Shibuya, and perhaps the entire world. And there's also unconfirmed reports that Takumi Nishijo may be backing her as well. If this matter isn't settled, not only will the world find out about the Gigalomaniacs, but the whole world might be swallowed up by Hana Kazuki's delusions. I can see from the look on your face that you think the committee is overreacting. But that's just who we are. If the committee hadn't been this cautious, we never would have gotten to this point. Thus, we've designated Hana Kazuki an enemy of the world. But still, she is a very rare test sample, and it would be a waste to kill her. So the committee settled on a plan of driving her insane and capturing her alive. Takuru Miyashiro is just an afterthought. I don't think there's any other reason beyond the fact that he was with her. We have our agreement with you as well. I've no intention of killing him, I just wanted to teach him a lesson. Once we have Hana Kazuki, the plan is to give him back to you. Of course, if you like, we can kill him. How about it? Serika thought for a moment and lightly kicked her foot against the wall of the tunnel. The sound echoed down the tunnel.
You've told me your reason, so I'll allow it.
That was her answer. So you'll let me decide whether to kill him or let him live? Is that it?
Yes,
You're sure?
it's fine.
You really are insane. So long as Takuru Miyashiro enjoys it, you're willing to sacrifice the man itself. Or maybe you were simply born with different values than the rest of us. By the way, I'm unfortunately not an entertainer, so I may not be as good at this as you are. Keep that in mind. Sidika ignored his joke. It was clear that she felt discussions were finished. Can I ask you one question? What do you intend to do after Takuru Miyashiro dies?
There is nothing for me after that.
Sidika laughed and then turned around to leave. I see. How noble. Oh, Onoe, there are monsters around, so be careful on your way home. But Sidika didn't even bother looking back. All right, if that's the deal, maybe I can be a little more open with how I act. If I could lure out Takumi Nishijo too, that would be for the best. But for now, the problem is Hana Kazuki and Takuru Miyashiro. Luckily, took out his phone and dialed a number on the contact list. The phone rang for a while before it connected.
Yes, hello?
I'm Mr. Wakui, the student council advisor. I need to speak with the student council president for a moment. Is she available? Dawn came. We'd spent over 12 hours running with no real destination in mind. After Wakui's attack, Kazuki and I had hidden in a Shinsen Love Hotel. All this chaos had turned Shibuya into a ghost town. There were several love hotels in Shinsen that had closed down. We snuck inside one of them and held each other tight, hiding and trying to make as little noise as possible. I knew that it wasn't going to do us much good. It was obvious Wakui knew everything he needed. But even if it was only a difference of a few percentage points in the likelihood of us being found, I wanted to stay somewhere else rather than stupidly going back to the dorm. Of course, spending all my time in one place meant that I had nothing to do but think and worry. He might find us if we stayed here. He may have already found us. He could attack at any minute. The fear became delusions, and the delusions threatened to drive me crazy. So every hour or two, we would hide somewhere else. Since we couldn't get close to Shibuya Station, we went to bookstores, department stores, and McD's around the areas. Yeah, so many empty love hotels, we can bang in all of them. They were all closed, so we used Kazuki's D-sword to break the shutter and go inside, then hide for just a few hours. But no matter how many times we went to a different place, my worry didn't disappear. The power Wakui had shown us was just that overwhelming. It wasn't physical power. It was psychological torture that drained all your will to resist. Sorry. Just remembering it made my whole body shrivel up with terror. Of course, I didn't get a wink of sleep. Kozuki was no different. She'd spent the whole time clinging to me and shaking. She was so weak she couldn't even walk on her own. She was physically exhausted, of course, but the psychological exhaustion was worse. She hadn't even tried to say a word since then. I tried to pry her off of me, but she stubbornly kept clinging, so I had no choice but to walk with my arm around her. Kazuki, we're here. We'd been heading for a manga cafe. Fortunately, there were plenty of places to hide in Shibuya right now. The shutter was down at the entrance of the building with the manga cafe. Kazuki, break it for us. Come on, please. Instead of taking her D-sword out, Kazuki just kept clinging to me. I had no choice but to try and physically force the shutter to rise. It didn't work. There was no sign of my power, telekinesis, manifesting itself, and I couldn't find my own D-sword. I didn't want to die, but I was so tired. I had no idea that running in fear for just half a day could be so exhausting. With nothing else to do, I slumped down against the shutter. Still, Kazuki wouldn't get off me. We probably weren't going to be able to keep running for much longer. Luckily, it had been quite clear. I'll tell you one thing, though. Don't think you can get away. Thinking about the future made me despair. It was up to someone else whether we lived or died, and that someone was coming for us soon. Could we escape when he arrived? And if we could, how long could we keep running? We had no future. I even pondered committing suicide. The idea of facing Wakui's psychological attack again scared me more than anything. Maybe someone would come to save us. Suddenly, I heard a sound nearby, and I cringed before I even knew what I was doing. I curled up into a ball to protect my head. I knew there was no point, but my instincts made me do so anyway. But a short while later, I realized it was just the sound of a smartphone, and I gave a deep sigh. It was Kazuki's phone that was ringing, not mine. The sound kept playing, which meant that it was a phone call, not a text message. Kazuki was looking at me with terror in her eyes. A phone call? Who's it from? The screen said, no, no. It was Kurisu. Kazuki was unsure if she should answer it. If she did, maybe Wakui would go after Kurisu too. She wanted to avoid that, probably. But right now, we wanted any kind of help we could get. It could be Kurisu, Serika, or Ito. Even Nightheart. We just wanted someone to do something. I grabbed the phone out of Kazuki's hands and answered it. Hello? Oh, good morning. This is Wakui. Just hearing his voice filled my mind with despair. I was too scared to speak. That's strange. I was sure I'd called Kazuki's phone. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. I'm sure she's right next to you, right? This couldn't be happening. That was Kurisu's name on the screen. So why was I hearing Wakui's voice? Because that's so easy to do. So easy to do. I thought for a second, and then the worst occurred to me. What did you do to Kurisu? Oh, you understand the situation already? I'm glad you're quick on the uptake. D- did you kill her? No, but I don't know what I might do in the future. What do you mean? Let's meet at noon today at the Theater Cube on the 11th story of the Hikario building. Can both of you come? If we don't, will you kill Kurisu? I suppose I will. I mean, I've just got so much cleanup work to do. Clean up from what, you ask? Of course, what Kazuki did. So it would be a big help if you would just show up. My bosses want me to go big, you see. Of course, I'm not planning on adding to the chaos. In fact, we're going to be censoring all the information about what's going on in Shibuya right now. But there have been several annoying little rats running underfoot for the last 6 years. You two and Kurisu are bait to draw them out. Of course, I have no other interest in you, Miyashiro. So as long as you're on time, there's nothing to be worried about. Thanks. See you at noon, okay? Make sure you're not late. Teacher's always sad when his students keep him waiting. Luckily hung up. Oh no. Kurisu had been kidnapped? I looked at the time on my phone. It was past 9. Wakui kidnapped Kurisu. Kazuki looked up at me in shock. I told her that if we didn't go see Wakui at noon, she was going to die. We've got less than 3 hours, huh? If we went, we were sure to die. There just wasn't enough time left. We didn't even have time to think. I felt like I was about to cry, but I stopped myself. Why? Why Nono? How the hell should I know? I slammed my fist against the shutter in frustration. I knew the answer, of course. I knew it so well it hurt. This was all my fault. I'd gotten Kazuki and Kurisu involved just to save my own life. What should I do? What was I supposed to do? There's nothing I can do. I had no way of fighting against Wakui. Both Kazuki and I were powerless. But if we didn't go to the meeting spot, Kurisu would be killed. Didn't matter whether Wakui intended to keep his promise. Our only choice was to do what he said. But he's telling us to go get killed. Just imagining it made my knees shake too much for me to stand up. My life was going to end soon. It had been a short life, and I'd never thought it would end like this. Where had things gone wrong? I want to save her. Huh? I want to save Nono. Just this once, she didn't say maybe. But it was impossible. She'd seen for herself how scary Wakui was. There was nothing we could do. If we tried to hurt him and pissed him off, he might do something even worse to us. Far better to just let him kill us.
Maybe Nightheart.
Huh?
Maybe Nightheart could do something. Maybe.
Maybe he could. But he always seemed really shady. I couldn't imagine him agreeing to help us like that. Still, we decided to talk to him anyway. There wasn't time to think about it, so we headed straight back to Kazuki's dorm. She loaded up SO2 on her PC immediately. Nightheart was logged in, like usual. She quickly sent a message to open a chat log. Yo, you're safe? I was sure you were dead.
I'm still alive. Only for a few more hours, though.
Give me the short version.
Wakui took a girl from our club. We go to him at noon, otherwise she dies.
Well, you're fucked. What is this asshole's problem? Our lives were at risk here. How could he be so relaxed? I felt like punching the computer screen. What's your plan?
Help us.
But I refuse.
What?
What?
You monster.
Sorry, but I'm not as useful as you guys think I am. I'm a lot less useful than your average normal. I used to be pretty powerful, but at the end of the last fight, I wasn't even human anymore. I gave up my power to come back from that, and now I can't use it anymore.
How much of that did you just make up?
If you want to accuse me of watching too much anime, go for it. Anyway, Wakui's goal is to get at me. I'm completely powerless, so no way in hell am I going. I've got problems of my own. I can't just drop everything and come to Shibuya.
Who are you, really?
I'm not important. What's important is Wakui. I told you yesterday he's an assassin for the Committee of 300, right? He's nothing like the Chaos Child Syndrome patients that showed up after the Shibuya quake. He's more like me, 100% pure gigglomaniac. He's not as strong as I used to be, but he's still a powerful gigglomaniac. To be honest, you oh my god, means you're a psychic. Committee of 300 has designated you an enemy of the whole world. You see, there's no way you can escape. I don't know if he's going to kill you, but if he gets his hand on you, you're not going to like what happened. You've got 3 options. You can abandon your friend and run away and buy yourselves another day or 2 before you get caught. You can surrender to Wakui and beg him to spare your friend, but in Wakui's case, there's a good chance he's not going to do that. And your last choice, the odds are incredibly low, but you can fight Wakui and try to turn the tables.
There's a way to fight him? Can we win?
The odds are pretty much 0. Same odds as drinking a soda and not burping.
Is that
really possible? It was hard to tell if Nightheart was serious or joking. Yeah, that's what we get for relying on gamers. But both Katsuki and I were willing to bet on the smallest possible chance. But if you can pull it off, you'll have a shot to turn things around.
Tell me, what can we do?
The sumo stickers.
Huh?
We looked at one another. This was an amazing coincidence. Felt like there was a faint light shining down on us from above. Did we know about the sumo stickers? That was a stupid question. We knew all about them. Till a short while ago, we'd been obsessed with them. The sumo stickers. There are a lot of them in Shibuya. Don't you know about them?
I know them. I know all about them.
Good, that makes things faster. There are basically 2 types of sumo stickers in Shibuya. You'll use the ones the Committee of 300 put up. Good so far?
The designs are different?
The stickers put up by the committee have the power to weaken gigglomaniacs and Chaos Child Syndrome patients.
I do think I get sick looking at them.
That's the effect you're looking for. It does nothing to people without power, though.
And?
You use the stickers for your own benefit. You weaken Wakui. You slowly, tantalizingly strip off your shirt. You beat Wakui. You put on your shirt and leave. The end. No, that's not the issue here. Who would have thought that the sumo stickers held such a secret? So that was why I felt sick when I saw them. Maybe the Committee of 300 wouldn't expect us to use their sumo stickers against them, but the question is how we do it. A single sticker only has so much power. The most it could do is make him a little queasy. How can we use that to weaken a monster like Wakui?
I'll ask. There's no reason for me to take off my shirt. What exactly did we do?
The only way is to use Kazuki's power, right?
It's not going to be that easy.
Yeah, I know. Like I just said, the odds are as good as drinking a soda and not burping. But if you want to beat Wakui, you've got to work with what you got. This is your last hope, and it's probably not going to work. Whether you're willing to try it anyway just because you want to survive, it's up to you, not me. So we were wasting our time. I'd expected as much. There was no way to use Kazuki's power to pull that off. One of the reasons that this had even happened in the first place was that she couldn't control her power. I collapsed to the ground. Giving up made me feel a little better. I didn't want to die, of course, but I could at least be calmer than when I was dealing with the fear. We're doomed. We're dead, no matter what happens. And Kurisu, do you think I'll let her go? Of course not. She'll be killed either way. There's nothing we can do about it. Thinking back, everything that's happened to Shibuya is because of my own selfishness. Oh my god, Takaru, you are trying to center yourself constantly here. I should have just gotten killed at the start of all this. That's right. I shouldn't even be alive. You never should have saved me back there at school. Kazuki punched the wall hard. The sound echoed loudly in the quiet room. I could hear her gritting her teeth. I hate my power, but... Yeah, that's right. Kazuki was always the type of girl who was open with her emotions. She used to punch the wall all the time when she was playing her game. But... I want to save Nono. I want to save her. Tears ran down her face as she told me how she felt. I was so happy when Nono invited me to the newspaper club. Being in that room was the one thing that kept me going. I'm really grateful to Nono. So I want to save her. I don't want to abandon her. But save her how? There's nothing we can do. Can you control your power? You can't. This is all happening because you couldn't control it, right? Wow, just rub it in, Taka. Yeah, he's trying to center himself on a route where he doesn't have enough info to know he actually is the center of all of this. I know that. But don't you care what happens to Nono? I don't care what happens after. I don't want to think about it. My quest right now is to save Nono. Quest? This wasn't a game. And she was never going to finish that quest unless she sacrificed herself. When she was done talking, all she did was cry. Kazuki, you really hate to lose, huh? She nodded as she rubbed her eyes with the back of her hand. She was aware of that, it seemed. She hated to lose, which is why she was always so serious when she played her games. But would that be enough to make her want to go so far as to help another person? Hey, Kazuki? Why did you try to save me? Because of the newspaper club. It was a very simple answer, almost disappointingly so. To me, Kazuki was just the quiet, unfriendly girl that Kurisu had brought to the club. She was always playing her games, and she never talked, so honestly, I had kind of tried to avoid her. The most I'd ever thought of her was that she was sometimes useful in putting together the data Ito and I had gathered on the computer. To me, she'd barely even been a part of the newspaper club. You gave me a place to belong. You let me stay there, even though I never spoke. I really liked you all. You too, of course, Takure. So if you're in trouble, I want to help you. She was a much kinder girl than I'd ever imagined. She probably couldn't refuse when someone asked her for help. When she felt like someone had been kind to her, she would never forget it. After talking to her, I finally understood who Hana Kazuki was. You want to save her, huh? If we wanted to save Kurisu and damage Wakui, we would need to plunge the entire world into chaos and then die before we fixed any of it. The odds were incredibly low. Even Kazuki didn't know what would happen when she used her power. If we're going to die anyway, maybe we should give it a try. Takure. Let's do it. Together. Kazuki smiled in relief with tears in her eyes. I didn't feel any better about it, though. If someone wanted to take my place, I'd gladly switch. But if there was some small chance that at least Kurisu could survive, maybe it was just a little better than letting him kill us. All right, I think we're gonna end here for tonight, because I think we're to the point that we're starting to push our luck. Okay, so we're not gonna save over our original so that we could do the good ending after this. Next stream is Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. Just a reminder, I am going to be traveling after that. So last stream before hiatus is going to be that Thursday stream. And then we'll be back, I think it's the 10th Might be the 12th. So keep an eye out for that. If you are being affected by the hurricane, please be safe. If you're being affected by any wildfires at the moment, because I know there's a lot out there, please also be safe. And yeah, thanks for hanging out, all. Hopefully my internet wasn't too bad. And see you on Thursday.
Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.